that decisions can fall into one of three categories. We can think of our lives, and we ought to, in ways of decision making. Is this a hat decision? Is this a haircut decision? Is this a tattoo decision? Hello, I'm Barbara, and I'm here again to help us work together to lean into wellness to build a better life. It's wonderful to be with you, and I want to talk about the Louvre today. The Louvre is a beautiful building in Paris that we now know as a museum, but it was originally built in the year 1190, and it was built as a thick stronghold to guard against invasions. Then in the 1300s, it was made into a palace, and for many centuries, it acted as palace. And then in the year 1981, plans were made to create a museum at the Louvre. And the Louvre became an incredible, iconic museum that most people throughout the world are aware of and houses some of the most amazing works of art. An interesting thing about the Louvre is it had this long and storied past beginning in the year 1190, but then it also came forward into the year 2012 when the huge glass pyramid was constructed as a part of the structure. I.M. Pei is an Asian American architect who created this idea for the structure. And the way that the light reflects into the glass is quite spectacular. Very modern with the iconic ancient structure that is there. However, I think some people find it to be somewhat dissonant and not exactly matching up. But it is an interesting decision that was made, and that decision is fairly permanent. Although, if you look over the many centuries, what the Louvre was made for changed drastically over time. James Clear is a famous author of the book Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is a phenomenal book that helps us learn how to create new habits in our lives. I enjoy the opportunity to subscribe to James Clear's newsletter that gives practical, simple advice in many areas of life. One newsletter that particularly caught my eye and was very exciting to me was his concept of 3 types of decisions that we make on a regular basis. He took his idea from Tim Ferriss, and he thanked him in the newsletter, but James Clear's advice or his information about decision making was that decisions can fall into one of 3 categories. The first category is a hat decision. A hat decision is where I might have several different hats. They might be to shade my face when I take a walk. They may be for going to the ball game. They may be about representing my country or a team. But a hat decision is, I can change that hat at any time. I'm not connected to that hat in any kind of semi-permanent or permanent way. I made an expenditure for the hat, or maybe someone gave it to me, but that hat is just a hat decision. The second kind of decision is a haircut decision. I don't know how many of you have had a bad haircut, but I've had multiple bad haircuts. And I can tell you that a haircut decision will stay with you a lot longer than a hat decision. So it might take 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years to grow your hair out, depending on how long you like to wear your hair. But a haircut decision is a decision that will last for a longer period of time, whether that's on the good side or on the bad side of decision making. Is that a helpful decision that'll stick with me for several months? Or is that a not so helpful decision that might stick with me for several months? An example of that could be if I am taking a test and I choose not to study for that test and I do really poorly on the test, my grade might go here down to here, and I might be in a well for a while until I study my way and achieve my way out of that well. And so I might be stuck there. By the same token, let's say I study very hard for the test and my grade is here and I move my grade up. that higher grade is probably going to last for a while. The opinion of my teacher might last for a while on either end as well. A third type of decision is a more permanent decision. It's a tattoo decision. In other words, once we get a tattoo, that tattoo becomes a part of our skin, a part of our layers of our flesh. And so it's important that we really consider whether or not we want to get that tattoo. There's a reason why we normally do not let children get tattoos. They may not want a picture of Pikachu on their back when they're 25. In fact, our whole lives might be like that. We may not want a decision to stick with us, or we might want it to stick with us. An example of that might be in choosing someone for a life partner. This is hopefully a more permanent decision. That decision can very much drive how you live your life, your level of life satisfaction, your level of drive. How much do I want to achieve? Is this person along for this ride with me? Am I along for the ride with them? Do we want to have children? Another tattoo decision. In fact, sometimes having children is more of a tattoo decision than even getting married. It's really important that we consider whether it's an architecture, making judgments about what kind of decisions we make. Maybe this building, the Louvre, is more of a tattoo decision, but we can also look that over the centuries, there definitely were significant changes. So we can think of our lives, and we ought to, in ways of decision making. Is this a hat decision? Is this a haircut decision? Is this a tattoo decision? Now, one of the ways we can look at that is in the area of sleep. Now, as we know, sleep could be one of the most important foundations of health. That's physical health, mental health, which will also impact our spiritual health and our ability to have satisfying social connections. It's important that we think about sleep in terms of what kind of impact do I want my rest and sleep to have on me, and how am I going to make those decisions, those hat decisions, those haircut decisions, and those tattoo decisions. For example, let's say I make a decision to pull an all-nighter, either because I want to have a lot of fun that night or because I need to study. I put it off, or maybe I'm just backed up on lots of work. So I need to study something, or maybe I need to get a work project in. I'm choosing to have an all-nighter. So that one night, we feel it the next day. We can definitely feel a difference in our energy level and in our mental alertness. That one night of no sleep can definitely impact us the next day. We may not be as alert. We may not be as safe on the job. We may not be as able to function in other areas of our lives that we need to function in. We also can turn this lack of sleep into a hat decision. If we have poor sleep over a long period of time, we know that that will adversely affect our mental health. We can't go long periods of time without having good sleep. It's just critical to our health. It will begin to affect your health. It will begin to affect your mental health, which again will affect your spiritual health and your social connections. We want to be aware of these things. If we're going to make a haircut decision on our sleep, let's have it be a haircut decision that's positive. Let's say I'm going to bed at the same time every night. I'm staying away from screen time for 2 hours before I go to bed to improve the quality of my sleep. I'm making sure that I get a consistent number of hours, that I figure out what's too much, what's not enough. And I stick to that, knowing that my level of acuity, my ability to think, my ability to function in relationships, as well as mentally, physically, and spiritually, will be impacted. Again, over time, the sleep habits we have become tattoo decisions. If we do not get proper sleep over a very long period of time, we know that there is an increase possibility of having dementia or Alzheimer's. Now, that is not something I think most of us want to consider. We also know that if we have long periods of time without proper sleep or with very limited sleep, it can even lead to muscle breakdown. I think most of us don't have any desire for muscle breakdown. We don't want our mental acuity to be lower and lower, or to get very snappish and have an inability to be patient with our loved ones in our lives or at work. So it is important that we consider sleep in terms of hat decisions, haircut decisions, and tattoo decisions. This can apply to our whole lives. Nutrition. All right, I'm gonna have that piece of pie tonight after dinner, but if I'm eating like that all the time, that is going to adversely affect my health. Let's say I eat largely just chips, candy, and treats, and I grab Diet Cokes, and that's it. That is going to very adversely affect my health. That went from being a hat decision to a haircut decision to a tattoo decision, and very lowered health all the way along. On the other hand, if I make real efforts to eat healthy foods, vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and I try to keep things in balance, this balance allows me to make daily decisions, hat decisions, that help me feel better through the day, keep my insulin levels more consistent, and keep myself feeling better as just a human being, makes me more patient, and the word hangry comes to mind, makes me less hangry. That becomes important. Over time, that haircut decision of eating healthily makes a huge impact on my weight, on my ability to have energy and function, on the health issues I have, how quickly I can recover from viruses or even bacterial infections. All these things can have an impact on my health, my mental health, and my associations with other people, and my spiritual life. Additionally, if I keep up my good nutrition most of my life with few interruptions, if I really work on my nutrition, we know it can help with health and longevity, help us have a better, longer life, and a more productive life where we can enjoy our lives more and we can enjoy being with our loved ones instead of always having aches and pains and other problems. Good sleep, good nutrition are not necessarily total guarantees, but they do matter. And it matters if we're making hat decisions, haircut decisions, or tattoo decisions. I hope we can consider the Louvre as a model for changes that can happen over long periods of time with buildings, that we can change structures vastly from something ancient to something more modern as we have more information. And just as the Louvre was created in different time frames for different uses, we can also consider those decisions that were made over time for this building and its uses and the look of it. We can do the same thing in our lives. I hope we can all work together to lean into wellness and build a better life. Have a great day.